what's going on. So over here, I got a unit of Minotaurs with great weapons and some poison warhounds. And my thoughts were, if he has any, my opponent brings any treatment, I'll be able to come in there and rush. So I had him on the flank, thinking I'll be able to come up and sneak in. Got 2 harpies just to run around and just kind of be of annoyance. I went ahead and put a unit of Chaos Warhound with poison right here because I've been playing a lot of Wood Elf players, and what they do is, look ahead and pop it up here. So you have the 2 lines, and a lot of them have been deploying right here on kind of this line, and just already have their units ready to retreat, and they just pepper you to death. So, and I went ahead and dropped my 2 Ungor with bows, or Ungor Raiders, and just kind of give a little bit of support and a little bit of harassment because my opponent can't see him if he doesn't have anything, so I can always just fall him back. Then back here, my main line, got 2 Bestigor herds with some spears. And the spears are just up front just to, these are the shield variants, just to soak some arrows, just to be a little bullet sponge. So I have Kazrak, the one eye, and I have the Lore of Wild. Over here, I have 2 Gore herds, just the melee type with 2 axes, and the Ungor with spears. So my thoughts were I have some flanking, I can come in, most players sit up here. It does not work out for me, and we're going to go over that in a minute. He's got 2 Dryads and some Wild Riders right there in his center, and this is, when the battle starts, this is all I see. I see his Lord, and I thought these were Glade Guard, or Glade Riders, but they're actually Sister of the Thorn. He has a Branch Wraith, another unit of Wild Riders, 3 Deepwood Scouts, and more Dryads. So we're going to go ahead and start the battle, and I'm thinking, well, where's my opponent? He must be on the side, so I'm trying to approach this somewhat cautiously. Let's move the camera back up. So I'm trying to move up somewhat cautiously. I'm like, I can come up here, I can do a little bit of harassment, and I'm using my Warhounds to kind of scout out the area. But you can see that I'm already making a blunder. So I come this way. His Wild Riders are going to come up and straight murk my Warhounds. So I pull them back, just trying to get them near the Minotaurs, and I want the Minotaurs deeper into the woods because I just saw all the Deepwood Scouts. Meanwhile, let's go over here. Meanwhile, I take this engagement. It's not. I figured I could, with my 2 Gore herds, I'll be able just to straight up murk these 2 Dryads, and with the support of the spears. But I didn't see these Wild Riders, and you're going to see that they're going to come up and around, and they're going to just take me out from a rear charge. So over here, I come in. I'm going to try to take this engagement, but I've already lost 1 unit of my Chaos Warhounds. And now I'm just sending in my Harpies, hoping I can pin them down long enough to get my forces over. So now I'm just kind of in a mad scramble to get my forces out and over. I see that there's an engagement here and an engagement here. And I was microing off to the right side, so I didn't see the Wild Riders. And it was good on my opponent. He comes up and around and comes straight in for a rear charge. So you can see that these 2 are collapsing. He's already running. They have nowhere to run to, so they're just going to get free hits on either direction that they go. Meanwhile, over here, I do kind of get overextended position, which is completely my fault. So I thought I was coming out for these Deepwood Scouts, but I did not see his Dryads, and he's just come in here, pin me down, and just open fire with all of his units. So now I'm just kind of in a kind of a panic mode. I'm like, well, I might as well give up the left flank. The right flank, let's go ahead and try to get out and over. You can see, however, that a lot of his guys are getting shot by arrows. If you slow it down here, you can see that he's been hit by a few of the arrows. He's been hit by a few of the arrows. So they are taking damage, and my Minotaurs aren't doing the great because it's not the engagement I want. I wanted them on the Wild Riders. My Harpies are just harassing, just kind of just buying me time until I can go. And you can see over here, my little forces I did have completely collapsed, and they're going to run straight off the board. So let's go over here where kind of the action are. So now I'm in a pretty bad spot. So my Minotaurs completely routed, completely destroyed, pretty much useless. They still have a decent number of models, but at this point it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to hold spacebar. So I just grab my troops, just make a big line, and my thoughts were, okay, let me just envelop. He's already on the edge, so he can't retreat out to the right. So if I can get my units to swing right, or swing to their right and their left, I'll be able to pin all this down, and my Bestigors will be able to make short work of it. So the balance power are starting to slightly go in his favor, but it's definitely looking bad for the home team over here. So now I do manage to get, my, what's his name? Brave Shaman, that's what I'm looking for. I get my Brave Shaman out here. I summon the Cygor, and he's starting to just drop bombs over here. So you can see that his Rudolphs are really starting to take some damage. And all honesty, they don't want to be engaged with these Bestigors. Bestigors have a lot of armor, and unless he's charging, he's just not going to do any damage. So I'm able to pin them down with my Ungor shields and get my Bestigors in here, and I'm going to start pinning them in. Meanwhile, Kazrak the One Eyes coming over here, trying to straight ghost this Branch Wraith, because Kazrak has all these huge bonuses, and it's just poison, and the Branch Wraith really has no answers for him. So now it's just in a mass retreat. So he's just pushing all his troops back, and I'm just trying to terror out what he does have. They're pinned in. I can keep pressing, use my Bestigors to keep hammering, and I think he had them turned off skirmish mode. So I'm able to connect with the Sisters of the Thorn. Maybe he didn't realize just how bad my Bestigor herds would just take down his Sisters of the Thorn. So just going to take my Brave Shaman, start running him down, just trying to catch these archers. And one of the bad things for him, since he's so close to the edge, and once I start connecting, he's going to just start routing off into the side. So what really I think was clutch for me is I took the Cygor, who's able just to start throwing all the rocks, and because he has an ability that gives a plus 50% miscast chance to all units. So he didn't really have a chance to kind of heal his units. Not that he was going to win any of these combats. So I just keep running. I'm just in a kind of a full press mode. One of the things I do like to do with the Cygor is you move, fire, and move. So he has a reload time of 13 seconds. So you fire, and did I get a good hit? Not bad. I got a few models. So I fired, and now I'm going to start moving him forward just to get him to the engagement. He is taking down my spears, which are not my spears, my bows. There's not much I can do about that. He is leaving all his troops over here, just kind of isolated, which is fine with me. I'll go ahead and go over here, so you can see the trail of all the dead Wood Elf bodies just coming down, and they're just being routed off. So now that I can see they're so depleted just of models, now I'm going to start sending my slower units, the Bestigor herds, back to rally, and I'll just use the Brave Shaman and Kazrak over here to push off. But once I realize he's not going to catch these Sisters of Thorn, I'm going to start pulling him back. So I'm able to rally. He is pinning down my spears, who I just used to try to pin down his Wild Riders. But here you can see my tactic of move forward and throw, move forward and throw. So now I'm going to go ahead and give him another throw order. Here we go. Oh, he's distracted. There we go. So now that he's moved forward a little bit, we're going to get a nice little throw in here. And let's see that rock come flying. Oh, well. So his plan, it looks like, we'll keep over here, is he's going to rally all his troops on this side. And I'm going to rally all my troops over here. And I don't think he should take this engagement. I think he's trying to save his lord, which is good on him. It's a good idea, because really, if I can just keep pegging him and just keep kind of nipping at his heels, he's not going to be able to do much. So his Wild Riders come in here, and I'm going to, as you can see, I just take the Bestigors, and this might be my only chance to really just kind of hammer down the Wild Riders. So I'm going to go ahead and come over there. So I did hit him with the Devolved. I wanted to break their leadership because I thought I was going to be close enough to really start doing some damage, but too late now. So let's go ahead and hit fast forward. You can see, despite my horrendous loss early, that I was able to kind of recover. And I think that's just because he stays so static. He had a real mobile force. As soon as he popped those Minotaurs, he should have just been kiting me out. He should have sent some this way and some this way. If he split them both ways, I wouldn't be able to just concentrate all my forces. So now he's rallying, and I'm rallying. So, I missed. I'm rallying, he's rallying. So I'm just trying to get my troops ready. Hold down shift here. So I'm just kind of rearranging my forces. I'm going to get the spears up front, get the Bestigors in the back, and they're still pretty healthy. They're still doing some damage. And he's coming out here, and he's just trying to just pepper me with what ammunition he does have left. The one problem with these Sisters of the Thorn is they do have very low ammunition. Can we see it? No, we can't see it. We can always look at it later or on our own time. So let's just keep it on fast forward as we keep pressing forward. So now my engagement is this. I want to fight in this little valley, because if I'm out in the open, he's going to be able to just keep swinging up and around to my flanks. So I'm going to start sending the Bestigors forward, and I'm pulling back the Ungor spears just to hold the flanks. You can see that the Cygor went ahead and fell apart because he was a summoned Cygor. All right, so now he's starting to harass, so I'm throwing the spears back here just in case he tries to mob up on my Ungor Raiders. But instead he goes for my spears, and I think maybe he was thinking it was going to be easy target, but because he's on the Eagle, he has such low armor, and I'm able to just start harassing him. However, my Brave Shaman does get in the way of what's his name? Kazrak the One-Eye. And he does hit me with the Withering, which is fine. So he pins down my unit of Bestigors, which is all I really had. I'm just kind of plinking away his guys and just trying to just force them off the field. So this is exactly what you want. The Bestigors with their 100 armor are just going to cut straight through these Dryads. And now that they're pinned, you can see Kazrak the One-Eye and the Brave Shaman just pulling through, and you're going to see their leadership really start to collapse. So you can see they're already suffering 36 from damage, losing combat, stronger forces nearby. And I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to hit up on my leaders, which is not the way he wants to do this. It's good on him that he got the rear charge. That's what he wants to do. However, so now we'll slow it down here. You can see my forces are interspaced here. He has his, mine, his, and then mine. So now his Wild Riders have nowhere to pull. If he had continued to try and pull forward, he wouldn't have been able to because Kazrak and the Brave Shaman. So there I was able to kind of hold there. So now they're in the exact thing I want. So I think that was kind of a critical mistake of his. It's just kind of the nature of the way he charged. Had he just focused on these units and tried to pull them off, he might have had a better chance. So now it's just me trying to just focus my troops down. He could just sit around and try to kite me off the field or just try to pull the draw, but luckily he didn't. I'm just using my Brave Shaman just to kind of bully around his Branch Wraith. And over here, you can see I thought I was going to be able to get a better engagement, but I did hit him with Devolve. And you can see that he's suffering so much leadership drop. So that's 38 plus 8 plus 4. So that's what, 40, 50. That's a 50 minus 50 to his leadership. He does come in here. Oh, let's go ahead and hit play. And every time he comes here, I'm just trying to keep my forces kind of condensed. So every time he comes in, he's just going to keep getting more and more bogged down. My Brave Shaman was just kind of pushing people off. So now I'm just like, well, he gave me his Lord. Let's go ahead and try to get it off the field. And once we can get it off the field, it's over. I'm fast enough that he's not going to be able to get away. And boom, one last hit, it breaks, and it is over. So I managed to recover from a pretty good ambush. Well played on my partner, or not my partner, my opponent for setting up that ambush. I really didn't have any good answers for it. It was my fault for taking engagements I shouldn't have. I should have just pulled back. So you can see like the Minotaurs, 9 kills. The Harpies, 1. The Hounds, nothing. So if you combine up all the forces that got ambushed, we have what? 8, 9, 10, 15, 24 kills out of what? How many is this? 15, God, I don't know, almost 3,000 resources. What really did it for me was the Brave Shaman Kazrak and then the Bestigor Herds. Just really tanking it out there and grabbing some chevrons. Over here for Komodo's forces, I like this pick. I don't necessarily like Sisters of Thorn. I feel like it just never pay out for me. If he dropped those and grabbed some Glade Riders, I think it would have been better off for him. And then he just needed maybe some armor piercing, drop maybe some of this and grab some Woodland Rangers just to have some armor piercing because he really didn't have any good answers for these Bestigor Herds. So let's go ahead and jump into one more battle real quick. So we're going to jump into Kazrak Riding Dirty. And this is against Spaniard, who's a pretty good player. I've seen him on the ladders before. And you can go ahead and you can see the army composition. So let's talk about what I was thinking when I made the army. So this is the map, and you can see it when we started off. So my thoughts were, well, there's a big mound in the middle, and you'll see it when it starts. So it's just going to be a grind fest. So let me grab 4 Bestigor Herds to go toe-to-toe. I'm going to grab a side gore because dwarf players don't tend to be that aggressive, and I'll be able to just keep throwing rocks downfield. And then once again, I went with the Kazrak and the Brave Shaman of the Wild and a Razor Gore Chariot. And I just grabbed some of these. I had some points left over, so I grabbed the Spearman, who I just was going to use to kind of pin down any range or Slayer units. And then some Gore Herds, I grabbed them just because they're a little fast and they can kind of swing out and wide, and grab the Ungor Bowmen to deal with the bows. And let's go ahead and take a look at Spaniard. He went very wide with his list. I don't disagree with it. I think he probably did all right. I never have any luck with the miners with blasting charges. I know a lot of other people do. The only thing I don't like is Ungrim Iron Fist. He just never seems to pay out or does well with me. But maybe that's just me. So overall, I think he had a good list. I think he had the right answers. But as you're going to see, the way he sets up, the way I set up, he falls straight into my trap. So my force is, I decided instead of going straight down the pipe, because you can see this large structure here is going to block everything to the right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my forces and I split them. So I put half my forces on the right, half my forces on the left, and then in the center, I'm going to put all my ranged units, because what I want him to do, as soon as he sees my forces, he's going to split out and go both ways, which will just give the Ungor Raiders and the Cygor chances to shoot. So we'll go ahead and cut out and cut back in once it starts. All right, and we're back. So this, you can see how I set, oh, wrong button. You can see how I set up my forces on this side of the wall and this side of the wall, and they're coming up and around. And so he doesn't see any of this. He's just moving forward. He doesn't see my forces. And you can see I would go ahead and start targeting his range, because I figured this is going to be the threat for my chariot. So I just want to go ahead and, oh, we get a good hit. We get a good hit. Nope. That was a swing and a miss. So now he sees this side first. So he starts pulling out. And because he's so thin, my chariots are just going to come in and push through. I have my Ungors who are finally in range, and I'll eventually stop them. So because his forces are in these long, thin lines and bunched together, you can see I'm really starting to drop models. So he's at 65. How many to start with? 75. So 10 kills right off the bat. And I'm just focusing downfield. So he sends in his Slayers, and I'm just going to focus everything on them. Meanwhile, this force is coming out of the woods, and this force is coming out of the woods. Oh, did we get another good hit? There we go. That's the money. All right, so you can see his line is so thin that when I hit, I've completely collapsed to the front line and hit the second one. And I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. So now he's pulled his Slayers out. I'm sending a Bestigor in here, because Bestigors are kind of a pretty good answer for the Slayers. The Slayers, while having high damage, have very little armor AP. So I'm going to go ahead and start engaging here. So I'm just picking him here and there, just kind of grabbing wherever I can, and just wherever I can get my forces in. And as you can see, the chariots are just coming in and out. So I got my Brave Shaman just shutting down his ranged units, and just going to keep on pushing. And now that I'm in the middle of his forces here, you can see I will summon a Cygor just to keep the harassment going. So I get my Bestigors in here. He doesn't have his Thunderers on guard mode, so they will start to pull in, but luckily he does pull them out in a way. But because I have all these chariots, I'm just going to keep coming out and around. Meanwhile, he's chasing my Ungor Raiders. He's probably so busy microing over here that he's not even focused on what his Slayers are doing back there. So now I'm starting to collapse everything over here. My Bestigors have collapsed these Dwarf Warriors. Kazrak is hitting it from the rear. I will go ahead and summon this Cygor in the middle of his force, because there's not much he can do about what's going on, because he's just kind of having to backpedal, and I'm dictating the entire pace of this battle. So even though he's holding me up here, he doesn't have as much AP as he needs. And as you can see with his Brave Shaman, I'm just going back and forth, just hitting around. He does pull his Slayers in here, but I'm just going to pull right on through. Kazrak, you're probably watching him. He was going up and down the line. So I hit these guys, I come back. I hit him again, I come back. And now I have my chariots who are helping kind of just isolate the problems I was having over here, because he's dedicating a lot of resources to this Bestigor herd. And, ooh, that was a bad shot. I do retarget the Cygor in a second, though. So now he's going to waste his Slayers on this unit that is falling apart, just because the unit is summoned, so it doesn't really matter. He is finally able to take down my Bestigor herd and my regular just Gore herd. But you can see everything he has here is just about half-life, 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 destroyed. And this unit's down to half, this unit's down to half. So he's getting picked away faster than I am, because he's just having to engage in, like, he had 1, 2, 3, kind of 4 different engagements going. And I was able just to keep on bouncing back and forth with my chariots. And not much that he can really do to answer it. And that's because he saw one force and completely turned up and around and came the other way. So now that he's getting his guns online, you can see if I hold down space, my chariots are coming in and out, or not in and out, they're coming down here, and I'm sending my Bestigors once again to come fight these Slayers, and I'm just going to keep pushing. So I already collapsed one, fall straight into the second one, and we'll just pull through right into the other Dwarf Warriors. So now that I've collapsed this, I'm going to start pulling through. Once again, I think he forgot about my Cygor, because he's so focused on that giant blob up there that he's just clicking to get his guys rallied. I don't think he's even focused on it. So the Cygor, I do have them go ahead and target here, because I figured, well, there's only a few of these Bestigors left, and there's a lot of his guys bundled up, and you can see a big old fat hit. My chariots are still in line, and so this is what I want. I'm able to hit and pull through my own units. So that's why I had this kind of the sandwich effect. So I had all my units hit, and I was just bouncing in and out. I hit, pull through my own line, hit, pull through my own line. So now it's just kind of a cluster. All his units are retreating. The only thing he really has left with any sort of killing power is Ungrim, these Longbeards, and these Slayers. So, oh, do I hit him? Do I hit him? Yeah, get in there. Get some. And so you can see this kind of the problem. I think the only real answer he needed was he was just going to have to do some dwarf defensive geometry and kind of just turtle up. But that's why I brought the Cygor, because had he turtled up, my Cygor would have been able to start throwing. Had he not turtled up and did what he did, you can see that I'm just keep on hitting and running through. So now it's just cleanup. So I'm letting these Gorhers with the Mantle of Gorek just kind of play with Ungrim Iron Fist, because I don't care if they die. I'm just going to use my chariots to just keep on coming in and just force these units off the field. And then over here, I'm just taking everything I have and running straight over here for these Slayers. Now, the Slayers are going to start chipping away at the Cygor. However, because they're focused on the Cygor, they're not focused on the real threat, which is Kazrak the One-Eye, who's just going to come in and start bowling these guys over. And you can see he's just going some big old swings. I hit him with the Scourge. And since he's such a thin line, I'm able just to pull back out and decide, oh, well, if these guys want to get my Raiders, well, why don't we come over here and help out my Raiders? So I'm just able to pull through. And once again, you see that thin line. I'm come out, and there's nothing he can do about it. There's not much going on here, just cleaning up. All his units are shattered, so I'm just kind of cycle charging Ungrim just because there's not much he can do about it. And he is just going to collapse in here and just run right on through. Once the Bestigors get there, it's over. So now it's just clean up shop. So how do you beat chariots? Well, I don't know. There's a few ways I've been trying. I don't have many good answers for you. I think what he had was right. He was just too thin. He was so thin that I was able just to keep pulling my way through the battle. And I think he was right. Artillery is not very useful because this is your starting position. As you can see, when you get down low, you don't have the greatest shots, and the forest blocks everything to the right. The hill blocks everything to the left. So you didn't really have a choice. So we'll go in here and we'll just watch Ungrim just kind of get pig stomped. I don't know what else there is to say. And we'll fast forward. And at this point, it doesn't matter. We just keep running and we finish it off. So let's take a look at how our forces performed. And if you ever have any ideas or want me to try out something, just drop a comment and we'll talk about it, or I'll try it. So let's take a look at his performance first. So great job out of this group of Slayers. I think it was great just running down my slower, less armored troops. His Thunderers, I think 2 is the right option, but like I said, he was so thin with all these units. He does all of this. All of this has charge defense against large, but it's useless when they're moving. So my chariots, as you can see, 119, 155, 126, just kept pulling through, and he did not have any answers for it. Other than that, Ungrim did okay. Those thin lines were just not the way to salute. He should have made slightly denser lines and just had some commando missions to try to shut down that Cygor. Because you can see that Cygor racked up 111 kills and gained a chevron. So might even almost gain a second one. The Bestigors is holding up the entire line there, 88, 116, 70, 90.